Hey everyone. Yeah, I know it's kind of late, believe it or not it is, but welcome to the review of Sonic issue 271, which is actually the last issue in my current subscription. I got to resubscribe this week online. But yeah, I finally got the issue. I know I'm not the only one that's dealt with this, and I'll talk about that in another video. But I wanted to talk overall about the issue, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a decent conclusion. It was definitely, it's definitely a classic Knuckles Sonic battle, Sonic versus Knuckles battle for a while. I mean, there are some good moments in there. I mean, Sonic, when he finds out why Knuckles is there, he's like, hey, if you want me to, I'll throw the fight. And that's one thing a lot of people are talking about. They actually found was positive about this issue. Was one of the things positive was here was Sonic. It's always looked like as someone with an ego and and all that. And he does show that ego a little bit because the fighting, he's pondering to himself and wondering, I wonder how Breezy got that emerald in the first place. And you have Knuckles who's fighting him, saying, "Hey, come on, take this fight seriously." So you still have a bit of the Sonic ego there, but like I said, there's the moment right there where he's like, when he finds out why Knuckles is there, he's like, "Hey man, you want me to throw the fight? I'll do it." And Knuckles is like, "Don't worry about that. We'll worry about the planning and the emeralds and everything later. Right now, I want you to give me a decent fight." And Sonic alludes that to possibly Knuckles just wanting to get some steam off and get some steam out. Excuse me. I just took some cough medicine. But basically, Sonic interprets as Knuckles wanted to get some steam off his chest. So they fight a little bit, and you get this big splash page, which on the top you have Breezy and you have Tails cheering on Knuckles. You have Amy like, like doing this with her eyes just like crazy with the crazy eye kind of thing, like her head's bandaged up still a little bit, but she's like doing this, kind of encouraging Sonic to beat the crap out of Knuckles and and stuff. And you have Honey cheering on, you have SBO just sitting there confidently, you have Chip chewing on some popcorn, and then on the bottom of the splash page you have basically Ian Flynn. The visual interpretation, I should say, the artist's visual interpretation of Sally, Rouge, Antoine. I can't think who else. Let me see. Of Sally, Rouge, Antoine. Let's see here. I know it's in here somewhere. Oh yeah, Sally, Rouge, Anton, Vector, watching through a television screen with different looks on their faces. Like Sally's got this crazed look, like ah, and you got Antoine secretly cheering for Knuckles, and then you got this fish girl. I think that's the daughter of the king and queen from the Waves of Change story or whatever it was. Then. Like you have Rouge just like this, all confident kind of deal, and then you have, Vector's like nervous, and then on the corner of that you have Eggman. So overall, great visual splash page of how people are watching and cheering on or basically interacting with what's going on with the fight. And then we get the whole thing with the hooligans, and first of all, before we get to the hooligans, we kind of get an idea. Because like I mentioned earlier, Sonic was pondering how Breezy got her hands on an emerald, and we flash back to weeks before, and basically you see Scratch, Grounded, and Coconuts in typical SSS fashion, stumbling upon each other, trying to take credit for something, take credit for basically finding the emerald. Like, Coconuts is trying to take credit, Scratch, Grounder. So basically they're all trying to take credit. They, present the emerald to Breezy, and which she's surprised by, and basically they explain how they found it and all that in their own unique ways, and then they suggest, how is she gonna, what is she gonna do with this? Is she gonna use it to make her empire even more go for, is she gonna make her empire more of a literal empire instead of a media empire? Is she gonna use it for more financial gain? Stuff like that. And she says, hey, why not all of the above? And that's how the tournament came about. So anyway, getting back to the hooligans though, we see that the hooligans are putting everything together. They're getting, you have Bean and Bark. You have Bark on guard duty, kind of silent guard duty, and Bean kind of being Bean, putting all the explosives together, and then acknowledging the fact that he told Knack he didn't need plastine, if you will, to put the bombs on the vault, because instead of using plastine, he ends up using bubble gum. Yeah, minty fresh bubble gum, if you will. And he just uses it to stick all the bombs all over the vault. So basically, Knack gives him the word to set it off. He sets the bomb off. The vault explodes. And just as Knack is getting ready and has Knuckles and Sonic in his sight, even acknowledging that there's rumors of Sonic transforming at night, all of a sudden, just as he's about to shoot on them and take them out, here comes Metal Sonic to interfere. And this is after, of course, the explosives cause everything to shut down, and even the lights and stuff. So again, just as Knack has, Sonic and Knuckles in his sights, here comes Metal Sonic, flies through, interrupts it, flies straight to the vault area, make sure everything is basically making sure there's nothing secure or anything, that could stop him. He goes in, he swipes the emerald, but his attempt to try to steal the emerald is thwarted, or nearly thwarted, by Sonic, Knuckles, Amy, Honey, and then finally is thwarted by Tails, who kind of, a lot of people, and I've read what people have had to say about this part, but basically this moment right here where Tails is the one that stops Metal Sonic from escaping with the emerald, basically they acknowledge that this kind of redeems him from the first issue of the story arc. And so Knuckles, not too happy about that, obviously wants to stay and fight Sonic, but Eggman calls him off, telling him, hey, I got another lead on another emerald, which is going to lead us into the next issue. So basically after that, we get a scene with Breezy and Honey making a deal, writing down, kind of signing a contract, right, making a deal, becoming partners, so becoming kind of like partners, if you will, by having Honey supply some fashion, some clothing for her robotic servants and stuff. So after the contract is signed, after they sign this partnership, after they sign the contract that puts this partnership into effect immediately, Honey basically wants to go off the record and ask Breezy something, businesswoman to businesswoman, and she basically points out everything that happened that's occurred during this tournament, like how the hooligans were able to get in as last-minute entries, why the security was so shocked when it came to Metal Sonic just getting in there, and nobody, not even her own security, being able to stop him and prevent him from taking the one thing that Sonic and the Freedom Fighters needed to save the world. And you basically have Breezy saying overall that it was basically, she acknowledges that Metal is robotic perfection. She says that maybe her security wasn't as tight as it should have been. Well, at least that's what I'm getting. But she basically overall acknowledges that despite everything that Honey's pointing out, that the overall presentation helped really elevate her status quo. It basically helped elevate her media empire to another level. Her media empire to another level, and it's basically now in her mind, as she tells Breezy, makes her worth half the planet itself. So in other words, what Breezy is saying that yes, I understand what you're saying, but when you think about it, it's actually made everything a lot better for me, and in a sense maybe for you, because it's made my empire, which you're now partnered with, worth half the planet that we're trying to save. And she even acknowledged that she was going to lose the emerald anyway, but in turn, this kind of helped make, but overall her goal was to basically make her empire a lot more lucrative, more acknowledged, and basically worth more than it has been before, and obviously she accomplished that goal. And Honey, of course, is like, yeah, that's kind of shrewd by you. You know, kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of a shrewd mindset you have. That's pretty cool. And Breezy has to acknowledge her, yeah. And Breezy has to basically tell her, well, you should appreciate that, especially how you were able to take care of Tails in such short fashion in the first round to advance. So, yeah, basically after that, you know, Honey leaves after Breezy tells her soon she'll see the wisdom of what she's saying and trying to tell her. And you kind of see Honey kind of, after she leaves Breezy's office, closes the door, she kind of got this look of, did I just make the right decision? Did I just make the right partnership? So overall, the issue ends with Knuckles agreeing to go with them back to Sky Patrol because he's got a few things to drop off to them. One of them, of course, being Chip, the light Gaia, who's supposed to help fix the world. And it's during the trip that they kind of update Knuckles and Chip on the status that they have 4, or if you read Spark of Life, 5 Chaos Emeralds, maybe even 6 now when Knuckles gives them one. And not only that, but they also let them know that that Amy's got this new power or this new trick she could use with the mystic melodies and all that, which Chip is actually kind of happy to hear about because that makes his mission a lot easier. And then they get the big revelation of Sonic basically turning it into a werehog, because Chip, right before this says, so there's nothing really wrong that's going on, right? And all of a sudden, poof, Sonic turns into a werehog. He's like, well, I basically have this condition. So, yeah, and then we cut to the ending, the final page of the story where they're talking with the Galatos, I guess that's his name, who was confronted by Metal earlier, in the first issue, I should say, of this arc. And Galatos basically tells Sally that he needs to talk with Sonic because he knows of a way that Sonic can fix everything and restore everything back to normal. So that basically is how the final part of Champions ends. And overall, I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was a decent conclusion. Thought it was a good story. The overall Champions arc, I will say, was okay. I thought it was all right. I thought really worked in a sense. I mean, I know some people kind of look at its placement and everything and how it kind of contracts with, what's going on. Like, some people thought, okay, when is it taking place? Because you had Spark of Life taking place after that, and obviously Spark of Life takes place during Sonic and company's trip to Outpost, and it's just, I think, well, obviously we're going to see that it's probably just Sonic, Bunny, and Antoine maybe, because you have Tails you have Tails and with Sally and Nicole and Big and Spark of Life. So obviously you're gonna have Sonic, Knuckles, Bunny, and Antoine, I believe, in the next issue. So overall, though, excuse me. Overall, Champions, like I said, it was an okay arc. It was an okay arc and everything. It was good. It was funny. It did basically give, kind of harken back to the adventures, like goofiness, if you will, that you got with Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, as well as combine a little bit of Sad AM in there, like the earlier issues of the comic used to do. So I did like that. I did like that harking back to it. So it was pretty nice, pretty decent to see. Excuse me. Like I said, that was pretty decent to see. So again, just a decent story, a nice adaptation of a nice loose adaptation of Sonic the Fighters, and like I said, I know some people question its positioning in the continuity, but overall, I thought it was all right, and that's really all I have to say. So I do recommend reading part 4 and reading all the other parts if you haven't read it yet. And when it does go into graphic novel, I do suggest reading it as a whole, because it's pretty good. Like I said, it harkens back to the adventure days. It has that silliness, adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It harkens back to the days of when the issues used to basically be like a combination of both. So really check it out, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. So overall, that's all I have to say about Champions Part 4 and basically the Champions arc overall. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to y'all later.